Assalamualaikum and good morning to Madam Fairuz and all my fellow classmates. My name is Nur Atika binti Muhammad Ashri, and today me and my group members Nurul Najiha binti Abu Bakar and Nur Shahidatul Husna binti Yusuf will do a presentation on implementation and assessment of major-based chemistry Form 4 and Form 5. I will do the discussion of the selected topics for Form 4 and also the relation of the topic to the lower secondary science syllabus, while Husna will do the discussion of the selected topics for Form 5 and also the relation of the topic to the lower secondary science syllabus. Lastly, Najiha will do the suggested teaching strategies and learning activities and also the assessment. So without further ado, let's start.
Oh.
Moral of the story, never mess with the bee, folks. But if you are thinking about the lava will be just fine after they apply the baking powder. Can you guess the topic that we will be discussing today? Yes, it is acid, base, and salt. In Form 4, there are 8 chapters of lesson with 4 themes altogether. Acid, base, and salt is under the theme Interaction between Matter in Chapter 6. There are 11 subtopics under these chapters. My friend told me that she had severe stomachache. Then one day, I took her to the hospital. Doctor told me that she had been suffering with gastritis and need to consume antacid to relieve the pain. This makes me wonder. Too much acid can be bad for you, and too much alkali will also be bad for you. Acid, base, and salt has been used in daily life and have interesting reaction and properties within it. In this chapter, student will learn more about acid, alkali, and also the salt. Without further ado, let's get to it. These are the subtopic of chapter 6 and we will go through all of it. Najia will take over my presentation for a moment and she will explain about the SKP for chapter 6. So stay tuned.
Hi, I am Najiha. So I'm going to explain about the DSKP Form 4 Chemistry. So in the DSKP Form 4 Chapter 6, which is acids, bases and salts, in Chapter 6, there are many subtopics, which is 6.1, 6.2, 6.3. So 6.1 is the content standard is role of water in showing acidic and alkaline properties. So the learning standard, there are 3, which are defined in acid and alkali, state the meaning of basicity of an acid, investigate the role of water in showing acidic and alkaline properties through experiment. For 6.2, which is pH value, also there are 3 learning standard, state the meaning of pH and its uses, calculate pH values of acids and alkalis, investigate the relationship between pH value and the concentration of hydrogen ions and hydroxide ions through experiment. And the for 6.3, strength of acids and alkalis, which are 2 learning standard, define strong acid, weak acid, strong alkali and weak alkali, explain the strength of acid and alkali based on its degree of dissociation in water. So continued with 6.4, 6.5, 6.6 and 6.7. So for the 6.4, chemical properties of acid and alkalis. So the learning standard, there are two, which is summarize the chemical properties of acids by carrying out the reactions between acid and base, acid and reactive metal, acid and metal carbonate. And 6.4.2, summarize the chemical properties of alkalis by carrying out the reactions between alkali and acid, alkali and metal ion, alkali and ammonium salt. For the 6.5, concentration of aqueous solution, there are two. Learning standards state the meaning of concentration of aqueous solution, solve numerical problems involving concentration of solution. For 6.6, standard solution, there are three learning standards. State the meaning of standard solution, describe the preparation of a standard solution through activity from a solid substance and through dilution of an aqueous solution. And for the last learning standard for 6.6 is solve numerical problems involving preparation of standard solution and dilution. For next, content standard 6.7 neutralization, there are also three learning standard which are state the meaning of neutralization, determine the concentration of an unknown solution through titration method, and solve numerical problems involving neutralization. So continued by 6.8, 6.9 and 6.10. 6.8 salt crystals and their uses in daily life, which there are three learning standards. State the meaning of salt, characterize the physical properties of salt crystals, and give examples of salts and their uses in daily life. And 6.9 preparation of salts. There are three learning standards. Test the solubility of salt in water and classify them into soluble and insoluble salts through experiment. Describe the preparation of a soluble salt through activity. And also same for the third one, describe the preparation of an insoluble salt through activity. Construct an ionic equation using the continuous variation method through experiment. And for the 6.10 effect of heat on salt, there are only two learning standards which are students are able to describe briefly chemical tests to identify gases and investigate the effect of heat on salt through experiment. And for the last subtopic for chapter 6 is 6.11 qualitative analysis. So there are only two linear standards which are identify the cation and anion present in a salt through experiment and describe the confirmatory test to identify cation and anion. So there are only 11 subtopics in chapter 6, form 4.
Subtopic 6.1 is about the role of water in showing acidic and alkaline properties. Student will learn about the definition of acid and alkalis. Acid is a chemical substance that ionize in water and produce hydrogen ion, which is H+, while base or alkali is a chemical substance that ionize in water to produce hydroxide ion, OH-. Next, in this subtopic also, student will be able to investigate the role of water in showing acidic and alkaline properties through experiment. In subtopic 6.2, student will mostly learn about the pH. pH is a logarithmic measure of concentration of hydrogen ions in an aqueous solution. Students will also learn about the uses of the pH. Besides that, students will learn how to calculate the pH value of acid and alkalis using the formula. Next, students will investigate the relationship between pH value and the concentration of hydrogen and hydroxide ion through experiment. Subtopic 6.3 is about the strength of acid and alkalis. With the name alone, we know that students will learn about the strength of the acid and the alkali. Strong acid is an acid that ionizes completely in water to produce a high concentration of hydrogen ion, H+. While a weak acid is an acid that ionizes partially in water to produce low concentration of hydrogen ions, H+. Strong alkalis is an alkali that ionizes completely in water to produce a high concentration of hydroxide ion, OH-, while a weak alkali is an alkali that ionizes partially in water to produce a low concentration of hydroxide ion, OH-. Furthermore, in this subtopic, students will study about the strength of an acid and an alkali based on its degree of dissociation in water. Subtopic 6.4 is where I think chemistry is awesome stuff. In this subtopic, students will learn how to formulate the chemical properties of acid and other substances by carrying out the reaction. There are two types of chemical properties, which are physical and chemical. Students will learn and find out about the chemical properties of acid, alkali, reactive metal, and also the metal carbonate. I mean, you will know what kind of gases produced when vinegar was combined with baking soda, right? Yes, it is carbon dioxide, my friend. But to find out what kind of gas it is releasing, student will need to do a confirmatory test to test it by putting the ignite wooden splinter to the gas container and examine what will happen to it. It's like we are solving the world mystery. Don't you agree, my friend? In subtopic 6.5, student will learn about the meaning of concentration of solution and learn about the numerical problems involving concentration of solution using the formula. The general formulas such as formula of concentration and molarity are very crucial to be memorized by students and they need to learn it by their heart because this formula will be used by them until the end of their life. I mean as long as they pursue in science stream or chemistry stream. Of course, in chemistry field, if they want to, I don't know. Subtopic 6.6 is about standard solution. Standard solution is a solution with known concentration. Where in this subtopic, student will learn about the definition of the standard solution, which I have mentioned earlier. Then, student will learn about the preparation of a standard solution from both solid substance and through dilution of an aqueous solution. Lastly, they will learn on how to solve the numerical problems involving preparation of standard solution and dilution. Next, we have come to another exciting subtopic. What made neutralization very interesting is because it happened to us daily, starting from brushing our teeth in the morning, taking shower, and having breakfast. Realize it or not, it is all about chemistry and importantly about neutralization. If any of you are watching this video without brushing your teeth yet, you better brush it fast. Because trust me, no one wants toothache, right? In this subtopic also, students will learn about how to determine the concentration of an unknown solution through titration method. And furthermore, students will learn how to solve numerical problems involving neutralization. Neutralization between acid and base will produce an important substance which is salt. Salt is an ionic compound. In subtopic 6.8, students will learn about the physical properties of salt crystal and able to give example of salt in its uses in daily life. Now I want all of you to think of salt. Have you think one? Well, thank you for thinking. After learning about salt in subtopic 6.8, students will further learn about salt in subtopic 6.9. In this subtopic, students will test the solubility of salt in water and they will classify them into soluble and insoluble salt through experiment. Then, there will be activities in order to describe the preparation of soluble and insoluble salt. Lastly, students will learn to construct an ionic equation using the continuous variation method through experiment. Subtopic 6.10 is kind of same with subtopic 6.4 where both are exciting. This subtopic is mostly about the experiment and observation. Students need to carry or observe the experiment between salt and their reaction with other substances and what kind of the reaction will happen to it. Let me do a quick test. What kind of gas will be released when zinc salt react with sulfuric acid? Anyone know the answer? Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Yes, it's hydrogen. And what kind of tests we need to do in order to identify the gas? The gas is hydrogen. What kind of tests we need to do? Yep, we need to use the lighted wooden splinter and we should hear the pop sound coming from it. Well, I think it's kind of interesting, don't you? Lastly is subtopic 6.11, which is the qualitative analysis. In qualitative analysis subtopic, student will identify the cation and anion present in salt by analyzing its physical and chemical properties. Student will do so through more exciting experiment. Then, to make this learning more meaningful, student will identify the cation and anions from the confirmatory tests such as color observation, the salt solubility in water, and their test for gases like I have explained earlier, and etc. This will let students to know more and more and more about salt and their properties. Phew, we have done with the discussion of selected topic. What a long topic, right? Well, it is in fact that acid, base, and salt has the longest subtopic among chemistry topics, with 11 subtopics altogether. This has come to my question. In your opinion, is it okay for students to absorb too much information all at once? And what do you think the consequences in doing so? Well, no need to answer it now. I just asked this question first to let all of you to think, and after my second part video, we will discuss this in WhatsApp group. Feel free to share your thoughts, okay? In lower secondary, specifically Form 2, student has learned about acid and alkalis. However, the topic of the properties of acid and alkalis is just simple and there are no definition given in lower secondary topic. They just learn the origin of the word acid and alkali, which originates from Latin word, which are acidus means sour and alkali means ashes of plant. The example of acid and alkali given is not much, such as vinegar and salt water, but good enough to let the student to learn about the basic. Compared to the upper form, they learn about the definition of acid and alkali using the Arrhenius definition, and also the example of acid and alkali is wide and various. Next, in lower form, student has been learning about the role of water in showing the properties of acid and alkalis, where this time, student will do a simple experiment to identify the properties of substances in water and without water using litmus paper. The general knowledge where acid and alkali show their properties only in the presence of water has been taught in lower form so that student can apply it in upper form. Next is pH scale. pH scale is used to show the strength of acid or alkalis. 7 is a neutral scale. From scale 6 and lower, the scale is considered acidic, and scale 8 and above, which is 8 to 14, the scale is in alkalis. In lower form, students were taught that the basic things where they need to familiarize the concept so that they can apply for the upper form in the strength of acid and alkali subtopic in 6.3. In lower form, students are exposed with the uses of acid and alkalis in daily life, where they use acid such as vinegar in cooking and alkali such as detergent to do the laundry. Students will remember something more effectively when the lesson was compared and used in their daily life. Don't you think so? Next is about neutralization. In lower form, student will learn about the general reaction of neutralization where when acid is reacted with alkalis, salt and water will be formed. However, there are only several types of reaction being exposed to students in this level, such as when hydrochloric acid is reacted with sodium hydroxide, sodium chloride and water will be formed. Only basic and known acid and alkali substance such as hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide are being used in this level, only to let the student know the concept and not the substance yet. Lastly is about the application of neutralization in daily life. The application such as brushing teeth and the agriculture has been mentioned in the textbook in lower form. Basically, the application example in lower and upper form is the same, where brushing teeth, bee stings, and agriculture has been used. This lesson will also act as the first aid for the student if they ever been stung by the wasp or bees. Don't you agree? Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.